Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you were willing to do anything just to see them smile? You rearranged your whole schedule to fit theirs. You gave up sleep to listen to their problems at 2 a.m. You were always the first to text, "Good morning," and the last to say, "Good night." And yet, the more you gave, the less they seemed to notice. At first, you told yourself they were just busy. Maybe they had a lot on their mind. You thought, if I love them harder, if I try more, they'll see how much I care. And they'll finally give that love back. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and instead of feeling closer, you felt more invisible. They stopped saying, "Thank you." They stopped putting in effort. And somewhere deep inside, you started wondering, why is it that the harder I try, the less they appreciate me? Am I not good enough? Or is there something I'm missing about how love really works? If this feels painfully familiar, you're not alone. And I want you to know, it's not because you're unlovable, and it's not because you're doing everything wrong. It's because love doesn't work the way you think it does. Today, here on Aurarise, we're going to decode this together. Why the more you try, the more they take you for granted. And most importantly, how to stop this cycle without losing yourself. Reason number 1, when something is too easy to get, it loses its value. Have you ever noticed this interesting truth? People tend to value the things they have to work for, the things that require patience, effort, and sacrifice. When we invest time and energy into achieving something, it becomes precious. But when something comes too easily, without effort, without challenge, it often becomes something we take for granted. Love works the same way. If you are always there the second they need you, no matter the hour. If you always say, yes, sure, even when you're tired, busy, or have your own plans. If you always push aside your needs to prioritize theirs, over time, they will start to assume that you will always be there. And when something is assumed to be always available, it loses its sense of rarity and with it, its value. Think about the first time someone gave you a truly special gift. It moved you. You cherished it. You remembered it for years. But imagine if you received that exact same gift every single day, without having to wait, without surprise, without anticipation. That initial excitement would fade. In relationships, giving endlessly without balance slowly erodes one of the most essential elements of love, appreciation. They no longer see your efforts because you've turned them into the default. They no longer feel lucky because they believe you'll never leave. And here's the question you need to ask yourself. Are you giving because you love them? Or are you giving because you're afraid to lose them? Because if it's fear, you'll give until you have nothing left. And in return, you may only get indifference. Love is a dance of giving and receiving. If you are always on the giving end while they remain on the receiving end, your heart will eventually run empty. Your worth isn't measured by how much you give, but by your ability to give at the right time, in the right way to someone who truly values it. Reason number 2, you're putting them on a pedestal. It's natural to admire the person you love, to be proud of them, to celebrate their strengths. But there is a fine line between admiration and worship. When you put someone on a pedestal high above you, you're not just elevating them, you're lowering yourself. And whether you realize it or not, you're teaching them to see you as less. It might start with small things. You always letting them choose where to go, what to eat, how to spend time together, even when you'd rather do something else. You always agreeing with their opinions, even when your gut tells you something different. You silencing your own needs and desires because it's easier this way. But here's the danger. When you make someone the center of your universe, they can begin to believe that they truly are the center and that your world exists only to orbit around them. That's when the balance of love starts to crumble. True love is not about one person towering above the other. It's about standing side by side, looking in the same direction, building a life together where both voices matter. When one person is always above and the other is always below, resentment quietly grows. One feels pressured to be perfect. The other feels invisible. And you might tell yourself, I'm just being selfless. But selflessness and love should come from a place of choice, not fear. If you're putting them first because you're afraid they won't love you otherwise, that's not love. That's self-erasure. The truth is, the person who truly deserves your love will never want you to feel small in order for them to feel big. They will see your worth even when you forget it. They will lift you up even when you stumble. So ask yourself, are you honoring them while still honoring yourself? Or are you placing them so high that you can no longer see your own value? Because love should be a partnership, not a pedestal. Reason number 3, you're losing yourself. In the beginning, love feels exciting. You want to share everything with them, be around them all the time, and maybe even make little sacrifices just to see them smile. That's natural. That's beautiful. But somewhere along the way, those little sacrifices turn into bigger ones. You stop going to your weekly art class because it clashes with their schedule. You stop wearing that bright red dress you love because they once said they prefer you in something more subtle. You turn down invitations from friends because you don't want to upset them. One by one, the things that make you start disappearing. And the scary part? You might not even notice it's happening until one day you look in the mirror and realize you don't recognize yourself anymore. When you give up your hobbies, passions, opinions, and values just to please someone else, you're slowly dimming your own light. And when your light fades, it's easy for them to stop noticing you altogether. Not because you were unworthy, but because you've hidden away the very things that made them notice you in the first place. Real love doesn't ask you to erase yourself. It doesn't demand that you silence your voice or walk away from the things that bring you joy. In fact, the right person will encourage you to shine brighter, to chase your dreams, to be unapologetically yourself, and to keep growing as an individual. If you find yourself constantly asking, will they still love me if I say this, if I do this, if I choose this? That's a sign you're not living as your true self. You're performing a role. And a performance is exhausting. Here's the truth. The people who truly love you will never want you to shrink. They'll love you for your quirks, your passions, and your fire. And if you have to give those up just to keep someone, you're not keeping love, you're keeping an illusion. Reason number 4, the more you chase, the more they pull away. We've all heard the saying, if you love something, set it free. But when you're afraid of losing someone, that's the last thing you want to do. You start texting them more, calling them more, asking where they are, what they're doing, when you can see them again. You think, if I show them how much I care, they'll stay. But here's the painful truth. Love isn't built through chasing. In fact, the more you run after someone, the faster they seem to run away. It's not because you're unlovable. It's because human nature craves space, independence, and the freedom to choose. Imagine this. You're holding a butterfly in your hands. At first, it lands there willingly, calm, gentle, beautiful. But if you close your hands too tightly, it struggles. It feels trapped. And eventually, it will find a way to escape. That's what happens in relationships when you try to hold on too tightly. Your fear of losing them turns into control, even if that's not your intention. You might not notice it, but your energy shifts from someone they enjoy being around to someone they feel pressured by. And pressure in love almost always leads to distance. The right love doesn't need constant chasing. It's a two-way street. They meet you halfway. They put in effort. They make you feel safe without you having to demand it. So instead of running after someone, take a step back. Let them come to you. Focus on your own growth, your own joy, your own passions. When you fill your life with things that make you happy, you naturally become more attractive. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're glowing from within. Remember, the right person won't make you beg for their time, attention, or love. If you're the only one doing the chasing, maybe it's time to stop running. Reason number 5, you forget your own worth. Somewhere along the way, you stopped asking, do they treat me right? Instead, you started asking, what more can I do so they'll love me? And that's when the shift happens, when love turns from a mutual exchange into a constant proving ground. You're no longer showing love because it's joyful. You're showing love because you're afraid of losing it. You start tolerating things you once swore you'd never accept. Disrespect, neglect, being the last priority. And every time you excuse their behavior, you send a silent message. It's okay to treat me this way. But here's the truth. It's not okay. You were not born to be an option. You were not created to beg for love. And the moment you forget your worth, you hand over the power to someone else to decide it for you. Think about it. If you keep pouring water into a cup with holes, will it ever stay full? No matter how much you give, it keeps draining away. That's what it feels like to love someone who doesn't value you. You keep pouring, they keep taking, and you're left empty. Real love is not a transaction where one gives endlessly while the other just receives. Real love is two people building each other up, valuing each other, protecting each other's hearts. So I'll tell you this, your worth is not up for debate. It's not based on how much someone else loves you. It's in who you are, the values you hold, the kindness you show, and the strength you carry. The right person will see your light and never dim it. They'll love you without making you fight for every drop of affection. And if you've forgotten your worth, let this be your reminder. You are worthy, you are enough, and you deserve love that makes you feel like the most treasured soul in the room. So what should you do? First, maintain your self-worth. Your love is valuable. It's not something to hand out recklessly in the hope that someone will notice you. Treat it like gold, because that's what it is. Gold doesn't beg to be picked up. It shines, and the right people recognize its worth. So before you give, ask yourself, is this coming from a place of self-respect or fear of losing them? If it's fear, pause. The right person will never require you to diminish yourself to be loved. Second, never lose yourself for someone else. Your passions, your hobbies, your friendships, your quirks. These are the colors that make up your soul's painting. When you give them up to fit into someone else's frame, you turn into a faded, washed-out version of yourself. And here's the thing. The people worth keeping in your life are the ones who will love your colors, not demand you repaint yourself for them. Love should inspire growth, not erasure. Third, love without sacrificing your dignity. Healthy love is built on mutual respect. That means you can show care, kindness, and affection without becoming someone's emotional doormat. If you find yourself constantly apologizing for things you didn't do, over-explaining to earn trust you already deserve, or begging for their time, stop. Step back. Respect yourself enough to know when love is no longer love, but control. Here's a truth I want you to hold close. The person who truly loves you will celebrate your presence, not just tolerate it. They will make space for you in their life, not make you fight for it. They will listen, not dismiss. They will support, not compete. And if you ever feel like you have to constantly prove your value to someone, maybe it's time to walk away and give that love back to yourself. Because the more you pour into you, the more you'll attract people who see your worth without you having to spell it out. And maybe this is the reminder you've been needing. You don't have to beg for love. You don't have to exhaust yourself proving that you deserve care, attention, or respect. The love you give is a gift, and the right person will treat it like one. So, if you've been feeling unseen, unheard, or undervalued, I want you to ask yourself, am I trying to convince them to love me, or am I loving myself enough to walk away? Because here's the truth. When you stop pouring your energy into the wrong hands, you make space for the right ones to hold it. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been in a relationship where the more you gave, the less you were appreciated? Share your story in the comments. You never know. Your words might be the sign someone else needs to finally choose themselves. And if you're ready to protect your heart, rebuild your self-worth, and never settle for less than the love you deserve, follow Aurarise now. Let's make sure you never love the wrong person again.